And we are back. Pokemon Black, Hardcore Randomizer, the run continues. We have made it to the Elite Four. Can we do this? But real quick, let's just check in to the PC and see who we lost as well as who was left on the table. So starting here, we have the less desirables, if you will. We got the Butterfree with thick fat. We got the Spider with damp. We got the little tiny guy. Is that Kara Blast with the Swift Swim. Now, I don't know if you could actually get the evolution of this guy, but if you could, his evolution had Truant. So I think we would have ended up with the Slacking passive anyway. We got the Snow Warning Mightyena. You definitely want Intimidate instead of that. It's interesting to see how the original abilities kind of interact with the randomized ones. You got Tinted Lens on the Watchog here. Pretty interesting with that. Not very effective moves do more damage. I wonder if you could make that work in a certain scenario. Honey Gather with the Rhyperior. Just 2-4 times weaknesses is really tough with how slow he is. Then you got Armaldo with a really bad passive ability in Monus, or Nature, I should say, and then Damp as well. So no self-destruct. I do really like the design and typing on him, but just couldn't quite make him work. And then, of course, the Kyogre with a bonus special attack nature, except it has normalized, so Surf and Ice Beam and Psy Strike can't actually hit for super effective, which is just the worst thing I've ever seen. If we could have used Kyogre, it would have been all over, and this is brutal. In my Soul Silver HeartGold one, our Raikou had slow start, so another legendary completely crippled by that randomized ability. Then we had the water starter for Gen 4 right here with Quick Feet for the Empoleon, a fantastic typing, but I've used Empoleon recently, so I wanted to give somebody else a chance. Another starter is going to be the Infernape, which is pretty disgusting, but it ended up with Klutz, which is just unfortunate. Also super frail on the defensive side, so I don't know. I really wanted to use Infernape as well, but Klutz just kind of pushed me over the edge. Then we had the big boy, or the big girl, I should say, in Dusclops with Illuminate, a very useless ability, but look at those defenses. We definitely could have used her, but I wanted to make room for another Pokemon, as you will see momentarily. Then we had the Gastrodon, the signature water ground. It's not a Swampert, but it'll definitely do. And then a very interesting ability with Hydration. It already has the Rain Dance, which is pretty cool. Definitely could have used Gastrodon, but I've used Gastrodon quite a bit in the past. Then we had the Quillfish with the Tentacruel typing, dry skin ability, so it actually takes more damage to fire types, and then it heals with the water. So I think that could have worked out pretty well. And I don't think I've ever used the little pufferfish either. It's just I think my final 6 was a bit better than what the Quillfish had to offer. And then as far as the casualties along the way, we averaged 1 death per gym, basically with 8 deaths here. We had the Meowth go down, was absolutely destroyed by an Espeon in Pinwheel Forest, and I just leveled it up afterwards just to see what the ability was going to be, and we got huge power on the Persian, so that was just devastating. Then we had the Purloin upgraded to the Purugly after its death, just to see the ability as well. But we lost the little kitty to a Wobbuffet counter in Chargestone Cave. That was absolutely embarrassing. A lot of Wobbuffets really gave me issues in this run, because if you don't have anything to ramp up and take out the Wobbuffet before it can throw a Mirror Coat or counter back, it's really terrifying. And then as far as our starter Gardevoir, we lost Gardevoir and Corsola to Ends Palkia in Chargestone Cave. So we lost 3 Pokemon in that silly cave, which is just brutal. And then on top of that, our Heracross was there for so long, almost went down to end, but survived just to get put down by a critical hit Dragonclaw, which came from a Dialga in Twist Mountain. So an immaculate moveset, a beautiful attack set, and a really nice passive in Solid Rock, but Carolina couldn't bring it home. Then we had Gengar. I absolutely adore Gengar, but I'm starting to get a constant, if I have Gengar on the team, it's probably not going to make it to the end, which is just sad. It's not always the case, but the last few Gengars I've had couldn't quite make it. And this one went down to Thundurus, just one-shotting it with a bite, which was really tough. And then we had Lunatone. Louisiana was there for so long with Pure Power. Got this as our second Pokemon, I think. Went down to an Archeops Crunch. Sometimes I feel like rock resists dark, which it doesn't, it never has, and it never will. But I think I get it confused with the steel interaction there. But yeah, Archeops had his way with our little moon here. And then lastly, Glalie was a strategic sacrifice. So Georgia, he took me to the side, he smiled at me, and he said, "This one's on me," and he made sure that the rest of the team could get out against Charon there. So really admirable. That was our last loss, and that paves the way to see our final team of 6 here. Who do we have that is going to go head on against this Elite Four? And it's going to be Hampshire, the Porygon Z. We've got Hawaii, the Blossom, who's been there for so long. We got Maryland, the Manaphy, absolutely amazing. We got California, the Charizard, doing work. We have Arizona, the Blaziken, fantastic. And then recently, the final first encounter is Wisconsin, the Lugia. So these movesets are insane. I might actually go ahead and throw Surf on there instead of the Hydro Pump. I will consider that while we take on this first person, because I think missing 1 or 2 Hydro Pumps in a row is definitely a possibility. But other than that, these movesets are good to go. All right, let's do this. We got our final team of 6. Everybody's looking good. Everybody's healed up, and the aces are going to be level 50 for each of these Elite Four members. We're just going to go right into Chantal's chamber here and see what she is working with. Now, if this was a vanilla run, her ghost types can be very formidable, and they usually tend to pick off at least one of my team members if I don't play it absolutely perfectly. So I'm very interested to see who she brings to the table for these 4 Pokemon. Is she going to have any ghost types? Is she going to mix and match? What is she working with? But her alias this time is going to be Designer Tristan, or Tristian, and it's going to be the Mienshao. I absolutely love Mienshao. However, a stab fighting move would be glorious against our Porygon Z. So let's go ahead and pivot probably into the Lugia, since we have Intimidate on top of a 4x resist with the Psychic Flying typing. This is beautiful. Can't get much better than that as far as pivots go. And now we have both a stab Psystrike and a stab Aeroblast. Let's go ahead for the one that has 100% accuracy. Look at that animation, taking down the beloved Mienshao. And we absolutely do. It's a fadeaway crit as well. You'll love to see it. And now Carnivine comes down, and we have a super effective Aeroblast for her. So let's see if Wisconsin can drop back and hit that. There is a 5% mischance, but her signature move is here, and Carnivine cannot survive. That's another critical hit as well. That one does have an increased crit chance, so no problem there. The Whimsicott comes down, and I do believe we're going to go for Aeroblast one more time, and this Lugia is just flexing right now. Does the Whimsicott have what it takes to live that? And she does not. That one wasn't a fadeaway crit. We didn't even need it. And that leaves the final Pokemon here in Sceptile. Wow, Lugia was primed and ready for this team. They are all weak to flying, which is just brutal. So one more Aeroblast, but we do get outsped, and the Screech comes down. Sceptile taking out our defense, but will not be alive to capitalize that as one Aeroblast comes in after the other, and the Sceptile is not deleted. Sceptile holds on, absolutely. You'll love to see that from a starter. So we are just going to pivot into the Psystrike here and see how much damage that does in comparison to the super effective Aeroblast, just because, again, that 5% mischance could be everything. So we are just going to prime and ready, and now we'll go ahead and fade away with one more, as long as this Slam does not crit on top of the Screech. Beautiful stuff. One final Aeroblast comes down, hits the Hoenn starter right in the chest, and takes out Chantal. Beautiful stuff. That was all Lugia. We got a little cameo from Porygon Z, but let's see if we can keep this hype train going. Alrighty, 1 down, 3 to go. I am excited to see what this second team is working with. Grimsley here. Let's see what he's got. He's normally got the dark type Pokemon, and I don't think he's particularly scary. I know his Crocodile and Scraggy can really get in there, but he usually leads with a Liepard, which you can kind of set up on and work around. So let's see if he's got anything we can exploit right here, right now, or if he just comes out swinging with some maybe like Thundurus or Dialga. We've had some issue with some legendaries, but he opens with the Camerupt. Let's see, we're definitely faster, and I don't think we can get one shot by the chubby camel here. So I'm just going to go for a Ring Out, which is massive damage. I think it's the normal equivalent of like, color change comes down. Now he's in the normal type. He loses stab on the Lava Plume, but like Water Spout from the Wailord. I'm pretty sure Ring Out is just the normal equivalent of that. And we just did massive damage, And I think we're just going to roll another one here. It is the normal type now, so it's still going to be neutral damage, which is no problem. Bring it back into the red. And let's see. I think we can pivot to a Psystrike, and Cammy here, Grimsley goes for another full restore, does not want to lose his chubby Camel out the gate. Now turns into the Psychic type, which that probably was the wrong choice, because now Ring Out, because Psychic's not very effective against Psychic? Does Psychic resist Psychic? I can't even remember. Does Psychic... I don't think it does. I think it's neutral. So let's just go for another Psystrike here. And it does. It absolutely does. A complete blunder on my part, but the camera goes into the red. And I think we can just fade away here. Let's fade away with an Air Slash. We absolutely do. That was a little bit risky, though. We could have missed that. But Porygon Z doing it live here. And I'm pretty sure we could outspeed, but just in case, let's get out of here. Let's get to safety. And I think Lugia is going to be the play again. We have two super effective avenues with the Flying and the Psychic. The Intimidate as well is just massive. Intimidate on Lugia, I have never in my life seen something so broken. We're going to drop back with a Stab super effective Psyshock, as the Poliwrath does have a fighting typing, and the crit comes down. This Wisconsin is just fading right now. I think we can just go for a Psystrike as well. Running a little bit low on the Aeroblast. I'm pretty sure I have some Ethers in the back. Maybe a berry or two that could refill that, but that is fine. But the Sing does come down. Delcatty seeing through that terrible accuracy and landing. That is pretty impressive, I will say. And we are just sleeping on the job as the Stab double slot comes down. As long as it's no 5 hits with crits, there's 1 crit and there's a 4. That's about as good as Grimsley would have liked to see, as another double slap comes down, and Wisconsin's just tanking this right off the top. Man, this Lugia is just sleeping on the job, just floating in mid-air. And can she wake up? And yes, she can. The Delcatty gets absolutely slammed by the Psychic powers of the Psyshock. The Roserade comes down. Same kind of options here. Now, I do have a Sharp Beak on the Aeroblast, so it actually hits a tiny bit more than Psystrike. But I'm pretty sure Roserade's physical defense is really bad, and Psystrike lands on the physical side. On top of that, it can't miss, so I'm going to go for the Psystrike, and it probably will one-shot, and Roserade holds on with 1 or 2 HP, gets a nice Magical Leaf off the top, and now I'm going to pivot into the Aeroblast for a potential fadeaway crit if it got the heal, but I had already forgotten that the chubby Camel got both of the full restorers. Designer Cammy is deleted, Grimsley is defeated, and that leads us to the third member of the Elite Four. All right, so 2 down, 2 to go, looking really good. And a little caveat here is I only have 1 Ether. I have no berries, no elixirs. So as far as power points getting restored, the Lugia is looking pretty rough. And I'm just going to hold on to that 1 Ether, or Ether, whatever you want to say there, however you want to call it. But that does mean the Aeroblast and Psystrike are on a little bit of a timer there. So we got to watch out for that. Other than that, we're looking fantastic. We still have some really strong Pokemon in the back, and we potentially get a heal in between the Elite Four and the inevitable N and Getsus fight. So if that's the case, then we're going to be looking really good, and we'll just try to kind of strategically use that 1 Ether that we have. But it'll be nice. It'll force us to use someone other than the Intimidate Lugia. That is just beautiful. It really is. The Venusaur comes down here. Very cool. Very strong. And we have the Expert Belt. And I do believe that's going to do more. I love how Ring Out is Stab, but it's not super effective. I think we will go Psystrike. We're going to abuse the poison typing on the Venusaur and see if that will be enough to take down the big fella. And it's not holding on with the red right there, about 5 HP to the big fella's name. And the Worry Seed comes down. And I think we can just pivot into an Air Slash since the full restore is here. Liliana not wanting to lose her starting big boy. We get a nice Air Slash down. And now I think we're going to go for a Psystrike. Just again, that 5% mischance on some of these moves could be devastating. So we're going to lean in to the 100% accuracy moves when we can. And now the Infernape comes down. We potentially die to a close combat, I think. And we probably are slower. And I think the Intimidate is just filthy on this Lugia. And it's so good against fighting type since it's 4 times, not very effective. But I also don't want to go Let's do Charizard. Let's do Charizard, see if we can get in there, see if we can switch things up a little bit. We got the stab fly. Let's see if we can do this without leaning in on the Lugia. That would have been, oh my gosh, but the crit close combat comes down, and I am not comfortable staying in. So now we're gonna go for the Lugia, and now at least the XP is gonna be divvied out a little bit. The M108 comes down, the feint is here, it's gonna do no damage at all, and we're just gonna fade with an Aeroblast. We also probably could have surfed to kill, or even used our Side Strike as well, and that is gonna take down the Infernape. Wow, that close combat crit was beautiful. And now the Alola Mola here, the upgraded Love Disc. I think we can get our Hawaii, our tiny little Blossom in on the action. I think that would be okay. We could have also pivoted to our Porygon Z who has Discharge. The Wish comes down. And in that case, I'm going to Stun Spore. The Soak is here, so now we are the water typing. Very interesting. So we lose our Stab, which is kind of mean, actually. Let's go with the magical. Ooh, I think it's going to get healed from that Wish. Okay, so it's just going to keep getting Wish. So I'm going to actually go, because we're losing damage off of that loss of Stab as well. So let's get Porygon Z in there. The Paralysis comes down. The Wish comes true. All that good stuff. But now we can go in with the super effective Discharge with the Expert Belt, and that should be a 2-shot. I would think it gets Alola Mola all the way to the red. Does that mean a full restore comes down? It absolutely does. Caitlin not wanting to lose her lovely fish here. The Discharge comes in, and we should be able to 2-tap here, and no full restore comes in, and that just leaves Caitlin with one more Pokemon. We are doing work right now, and it is going to be the Machamp. Porygon Z only has one weakness, being the fighting typing, and they keep finding their way to the surface here. And again, I don't want to over-level Wisconsin, so I'm actually going to pivot into Maryland here, our Manaphy. The first time I've ever got to use this little guy. The cross shot comes down, and if that's a ooh, that is... that just might mean we need Lugia. We might need Lugia here. We're going to pivot into the Intimidate Lugia with the Psychic Flying, because that cross chop was way too much, and I am not willing to lose the Manaphy. And as long as we are under the level cap when we start, we are just fine. And I think either of these is going to work. Let's go ahead for the Psy Strike. Let's go ahead and pop off on the Machamp, and it almost one-shots the big fella, and we sidestep the cross chop, absolutely. Now we're to pivot into a Surf, and that should do plenty of damage to finish off the Wrestling Phenom. Beautiful stuff, get the level 51 secured, everyone's safe, everything's fine, and that only leaves one member of the Elite Four. But as far as this video goes, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it, and I will catch you on the flip. Peace.